For more on the Georgia side, Jake Rowe joins us now from Dawgs247 with us here on Ruscin Zach. Jake, happy game week.
Hey, I'm just glad we're here, and really appreciate you guys having me on. It's a pleasure to be on.
Appreciate it. So give us some of the high points. Kirby Smart met with the media today. What did he have to say?
Well, obviously a lot of Sam Pittman praise, and all of it deserved. Man, I tell you what, I've been doing this for a little while, and there are very few guys that are just universally loved and praised everywhere they've been as much as Sam Pittman. And, you saw it today in his press conference when he said what he did about D'Wan Mathis, and he's class act, and Georgia players, Georgia coaches just kind of glowed about him. They had a lot of really good things to say. So that was part of it. He's still playing coy with the quarterback situation, even though D'Wan Mathis is going to be the starter. There's no doubt in our minds about it based on everything we're hearing out of practice. I don't know. That was pretty much it. Basically talking about that and, talked about how awkward it is to watch teams play for a couple of weeks and know that you're not playing, and it almost feels like a 2-week bye to begin the season. But nothing earth-shattering, just, the same old secret squirrel type thing we deal with here at UGA with no depth chart and every position battle lasting into the season like we actually believe it.
So D'Wan Mathis, you expect to be the guy that runs out with the first-team offense after, this thing kicks off. This is a redshirt freshman first start?
Yeah, correct. First start, first game. He had a craniotomy, which is brain surgery of some sort. I'm not a brain surgeon, so I don't really know. But the official term is a craniotomy. He had it last May of 2019 to remove a cyst from his brain. Was having some serious sinus pressure and headaches, almost debilitating from what I understand, migraine-like. And they determined that to be the problem. He had the procedure. Didn't get cleared for any action, really. He could do 7-on-7 stuff, but didn't get, cleared for any sort of, strenuous activity until late in the season. Ran Georgia scout team a little bit in a non-contact capacity prior to Auburn and some other games, and got cleared at some point this spring to go, full out to be able to take contact, even though they don't hit the quarterback in practice. And the buzz has been there ever since. He's a 6'5", 210-pound kid with a really big arm, and he's a tremendous athlete. I think he's like a 10'6" or a 10'7", 100-meter guy, which is not elite if you're a wide receiver, but it's plenty fast enough to do some damage at quarterback. And he's a really interesting player. There's a high ceiling there, and there's one of those. He's one of those guys. There's not very many physical limitations, and I think everybody. And I think if you got Kirby Smart in a candid moment, maybe not in a not-so-candid moment, he would say that he's also interested to see kind of how he takes advantage of his first opportunity.
So it sounds to me sort of like the Georgia quarterback position is very much in flux. You have one leave and opt out. JT Daniels was supposed to step in. That doesn't happen. You get Mathis now as sort of the guy that's being handed the job. Is there a concern offensively that this thing might be a little slow to get off the ground?
I think there has to be. Because there's just so much newness. You just kind of scratch the surface of the newness in this offense. There's a new offensive coordinator. There's a new offensive line coach. There's a new look offensive line, replacing 3 guys who went to the NFL last year, Sam Pittman guys. Transition at running back, transition at tight end. There's just so much newness in this offense. And prior to this year, Georgia had not had its leading receiver back for a second straight season since 2014. Well, now they finally get that guy back in George Pickens for the first time. They had 4 different leading receivers since then, or 5 different leading receivers since then. Well, George Pickens is going to step in this year, and everything else is new. So, I definitely think this offense is kind of a wait-and-see type thing, and, I fully expect players to be confident in it and everything. And Todd Monken's a fantastic coach who has a great track record, but when you're looking at all of these brand-new pieces, trying to get them to come together, in a normal year, it'd be a challenge. But without spring drills and a few less practices than they would normally have during preseason camp, it's up in the air, in my opinion.
We're talking with Jake Rowe from Dawgs247 here on Ruscin Zach. For the more optimistic Razorback fan who may be listening to this, Jake, is there any chance? They got Auburn next week, a big rivalry game, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Is there any chance Georgia's overlooking Arkansas?
I really don't think so. Game one's tough, man. If you're looking to catch a team napping, that first game of the season's tough because, I coached a little high school ball myself, several years ago, and they are chomping at the bit. Arkansas, Georgia, New Mexico State, it doesn't matter. They are chomping at the bit to hit somebody in a different color uniform, and it's always possible, but that first game of the season is really tough to overlook, and I think Arkansas will have Georgia's full attention. I think Arkansas's best chance in this one, and this is and listen, it's a team that hadn't won an SEC game in a couple of years. I'm sure everybody listening to this knows that. Sam Pittman's got to rebuild that roster. I think he's going to rebuild that roster, but I think Arkansas's best chance in this one is for Georgia's offense to kind of struggle and for Arkansas's defense to get some confidence and to kind of keep themselves in it for four quarters.
And one area the Dogs will not struggle is on defense. They led the nation in scoring defense last year. Rushing defense, they gave up 74.5 yards per game. They only let up 2 rushing touchdowns, both of those to quarterbacks. This group, it's plug and play over on that side of the ball with Kirby Smart.
Yeah, they're really talented, and I've tried my best not to hype them too much this preseason, simply because when you do that, when you gush over something like that, it usually makes you kind of look like a fool a little bit. But it's hard not to with this Georgia defense. It's really, really talented, and you look at the front seven where I want to say Georgia's going to play probably. They got 14 experienced guys coming back in the front seven, or 13 experienced guys coming back in the front seven, which is incredible. And they played somewhere between 22 and 25 guys in meaningful action last year on defense. That's how deep they are. And the secondary is the best Kirby Smart's had since he's been at Georgia, only having to replace kind of one starter at each level. It's a really talented group, and I think the one area the areas where this defense has to improve is they've got to make more plays behind the line of scrimmage. They were in the bottom third of the country in tackles for a loss and sacks last year, and they also only created, I think it was 14 turnovers or 16 turnovers last year, and they've got to do a better job of that. But it's really, really stingy. They don't give up big plays, and they do a good job of kind of breaking up passes in the air, playing that man defense.
We're talking with Jake Rowe from Dawgs247 here on Ruscin and Zach. We were talking about, let's go back to Mathis for a minute. Just on the field, kind of give us a scouting report. Well, what does he do well?
I haven't had a chance to see much of him. Spring game and the spring practices last season, but he's a big, thin guy. The ball really comes out of his hand well. He can air it out. I'm talking probably one of your better arms out there, and he's only going to get bigger and stronger as he gets older. He's a smart kid. He's very intentional. Teammates love him. And, I think the one thing that kind of separates him from what Georgia's had at the quarterback position with Jake Fromm and previous guys is that he is a great athlete at that spot. When you're just talking about athleticism for an overall football player, he's probably got the athleticism to play another position if he wants to. And that's something that you're seeing more of at the quarterback position. I'm anxious to see if he's just ready for his moment. I'm anxious to see if he's a gamer, because that's what Georgia really needs him to be, because this is a team that they brought in Todd Monken, and they've made these changes on offense because they knew that they had to get that defense some support. And if he can do that, if he can be the playmaker, if he can help this offense be more explosive, then Georgia's got a real shot to be really good.
Things may look a little different on Saturday. People around here are still blaming Pepsi being served in the stadium for Arkansas losses. Georgia's going to wear red pants. Did I read that right?
Yeah, there's a tribute to the national championship team of 1980, which I find pretty hilarious that teams are kind of poking fun at Georgia. This is what college football teams do when there's a decade, to mark a decade or 2 decades, 3 or 4, whatever. They honor teams, and Georgia's busting out some red pants with the white helmets. They kind of showed them last week and then announced the next day that they were going to wear them for the season opener and kind of get that out of the way. Apparently the players were told a little while back that they were going to do it, and yeah, it's just kind of a tribute. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Herschel Walker first collegiate run over Bill Bates and all that. They were wearing red pants that night, and so that's kind of something they did back in 1980, and they're breaking them out again.
Of course, we're going to harken back to anybody. Herschel's not a bad guy.
Well, Yeah, that's
No, not at all. That's a pretty decent guy.
And of course, as Larry Munson called it back then, they were wearing red breeches, not red pants, during the game. The great Georgia announcer for many years. All right, I mean, it seems like this is open and shut with this game, but I mean, it's 2020 and weird stuff happens. So who knows how long this game will be competitive? I know, Arkansas people, at least some of the media, have got to see a little of practice. Down in Georgia, you guys haven't seen anything.
No, not at all. And I'll say this about Arkansas, and I'm a believer in Sam Pittman, and I'm a believer that he's got the goods, and every head coach needs a break or two. I mean, Kirby Smart got him in 2017 with kind of having the right guy for the right moment when his quarterback went down. I think this whole situation, this whole 2020 situation, might affect Arkansas and some of these other teams that have new head coaches more than anybody, because they didn't get spring practice to instill their culture. They didn't get all of this time together after spring practice where the players have to spend time around one another and spend time around the staff. It just kind of sucks for them, because I truly believe Sam Pittman is the kind of guy to kind of come in there and get his team playing extremely hard right away. And I think with that time, it would have very much benefited Arkansas in a big way.
All right. Well, we know it's Arkansas and Georgia at 3 on Saturday in Fayetteville. Jake Rowe, Dawgs247 with us here. Thanks, Jake. We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Y'all take care.
All right. Jake Rowe, Dawgs247 with us here on Ruscin and Zach.